Alright guys, so I'm back outside and the weather is just so blessed. I can't complain, like I'm so lucky. Much on this apple in my last one unfortunately, and it's so good. But I'll stop talking about some unnecessary things. Behind me here, you have the Tao Palace. I'll just show you guys here. So you guys can see on that sign it says Palais de Tao, but you guys even in English can understand that. That means palace, the Tao Palace. Tao is actually a Greek letter. It's the Greek letter T, and it's called that because the palace is in the shape of a T. If you look at it from above, I don't know if I got it for you guys when I was up there at the top, but just trust me that that's why it's called the Palace of Tao. Unfortunately, it's usually open to public, but it's been closed for 2.5 years, or it's going to be closed for 2.5 years. I forgot what the guide said, because of restoration work. But this is where the Archduke, or the Archbishop, I keep on mixing up, the Archbishop would have lived, basically the second most powerful man in France, like I said, during the French Kingdom. But when the French state was separated, religious and state, it was like 19 something at the beginning of the 19th century, when secularism kind of got introduced, that became part of the state. The state took power of it because you can't have the state and the religion mixed together. And then they built another house beside where the Archbishop currently resides, or now it's a bishop, I believe. But yeah, I might have just mixed up all of the different religious terms, so I hope that you guys don't take it too seriously in that sense. But that's kind of just a quick rundown, and I'm gonna pass the road right now, of what this palace served for. And unfortunately I can't go inside, but it's kind of interesting that that's where the second most powerful person in France resided, and just beside it is where the king was crowned every time a new one came. Alright guys, so I'm kind of just walking around with not that much of a goal in mind. I'm kind of just trying to explore the city. I have a few landmarks on Google Maps I'm going to try to visit, but here you can kind of see we have a really beautiful garden and the Academy of Reims. So I don't know, maybe that's like one of their colleges or universities. But yeah, it was built from 1963 to 1967 in order to revitalize the neighborhood that I'm currently in. One thing my mom told me as a tip for my vlogs is to try not to shake, or try as much as possible to make the camera steady so that you guys can notice. And I never thought about that, but now like I realize it's really hard for you guys to listen to the vlog when it's all shaky. So I'm gonna do my best. I think I'm gonna forget sometimes, so I'm gonna try my best to like be as steady as possible, and hopefully that's gonna improve the vlogs. Alright guys, so I'm in a very beautiful park just in the middle of the city. Kind of give you guys a 360 view, and you guys can probably hear the flow of water because there's actually a fountain that's just beside me going off. I'm not sure what that's about, and I think it's probably not safe for drinking, so I'm not gonna worry about it. But it's kind of funny because here in France, some things are really hard to find, like drinking water and washrooms, but here you have some water, but who knows if it's actually drinkable or not. So behind me I have one of the basilisks, and actually it's interesting because the histories of basilisks comes from the Byzantine Empire. I learned that during my tour. Apparently one of the emperors of the Byzantine Empire, like his name was Basil or something similar to Basilisk, and I think all these buildings were kind of probably built in his honor, and then they just kept the name. So let's go ahead into the Basilisk right now, and I think there's also a museum, so hopefully we can get into at least one of them. Alright guys, so this is actually something really cool. I hope with the wind you can hear me still, but basically behind me, I'm going to try to hold the camera as steady as possible. You have the baptism of Clovis. So basically Clovis, I'm going to speak towards the camera so you can hear me. Clovis was one of the kings of the French Empire, and I think that's him there because it looks like the other guy beside him is doing the baptizing. And basically he's very significant, and I wanted to tell you guys this during the tour because I learned this then, but it was like the people were everybody there. All the people were there, sorry, so I didn't want to just whip out the camera while the tour guide was talking. But basically, Clovis was the first French king to shift from paganism, which is the belief where you believe in multiple gods. So think of the Romans, to Christianity or monotheism. He was the first king to be baptized, and he was baptized here in Reims. I think I'm saying that right, Reims, whatever, how are you going to say the name of the city, and that's extremely significant. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was baptized in the cathedral that I was at just earlier today. And here at this other basilisk that we have, you have of course another monument of the depiction of the baptism, baptization, I don't know which one of those words it is. And that's kind of a very important thing that is really highlighted throughout the city. Alright guys, before I take a moment to appreciate this basilisk myself, I'm going to obviously show it to you guys first. So look at the main hall. Let me change the focus a bit. Hopefully that's a bit better. You can see, of course, we have the stained glass just there. And you have a really cool type of chandelier. So now we can kind of notice the differences in lighting. So you saw they had the individual chandeliers at the cathedral, and here you just have this massive one. But one thing that they did keep the same, maybe this is a kind of a special attribute of Reims is the organ attached to one of the pillars on the side of the cathedral, just there. There you go, just there. I gotta work on my pointing skills. And yeah, so that's really cool to see that as a reoccurring theme. And then behind me, you have, of course, where like all of the members of the clergy are during the service. And behind me, you have the dome of the basilisk. So maybe the dome feature is kind of a special feature characteristic. It's not really a dome, but like kind of has a dome shape at the very end there. But obviously, it's a slightly different design from the cathedral that we were just at. Obviously, not as tall, but still very impressive. And yeah, so hopefully from this, few minutes of me recording myself, you can have a kind of cool idea of what the basilisk is like. And yeah, so I'm gonna have a look at it myself, show you if there's anything else that's interesting, and I'll make my way to the next step. All right, guys, so actually I have another thing to show you. So here you see right me above me, where some organs are, but the main organs are there behind me. So I'm not sure if these are connected or not, but you can see it looks like there's kind of a makeshift piano. I don't want to touch it, but maybe there are some keys underneath there. I see a keyhole, so maybe it's locked, but maybe this is like a mini organ, or maybe this one is the one that controls the big one behind me. But I've never seen the organ kind of place where the player plays the organ in the actual hall of the church. It's usually like somewhere secluded, but that's pretty cool to see. And even over here, I don't know if those are pedals, but you have a bunch of things sticking out where the feet go. All right, so I guess I kind of lied to you guys because I was like, just gonna be here for a quick moment and I'm not gonna show you guys anything else, but I saw another cool thing. So I've seen this in all of the cathedrals and churches I've been to, but I never had the chance to highlight to you guys. So you can see there's even one there, but I'm gonna highlight this one here. This is a confession box. So probably you guys already all know what this is for, but it's really cool. So basically what happens is the Pope, not the Pope, but like, I forget what you call the kind of the low-ranking church people, but they go there in that box, and then basically people can come. This one looks to be two-sided, as you can see, but I think it's symmetrical. But people come here, and then look at what's inside here, guys. So you can see here, there's a elevated place to where you kneel on. I think you go on your knees in there, and then basically here, there's a screen. So that's a screen, or it's like a thing that slides in and out, and basically people kneel there, and they go and they tell the person, bro, I think I'm gonna remember this term later, but I'll say Pope, even though it's not the Pope, just the religious official, their sins. And it's like a sin box. I need to know what the actual term is, but basically this is where they repent for their sins. I'm not sure if the religious person is supposed to respond or if they only listen. That's something that you guys can tell me in the comments, but it's really cool to see these here, and I'm curious to see if they're used still today, because obviously this basilisk is still used today. I imagine it is, but it's not too discreet in this way because everybody can see who's using it when they come out. Usually they're like in a corner, but you have these two just attached to the wall. But that was just kind of a quick aside because those are a really cool part of the church that I wanted to highlight. All right, I watched a podcast recently about how religion in France is definitely diminishing. Islam is different, it's actually increasing, but other religions are decreasing in the number of followers, but there's still a very, very strong following base. You can see here, you have the Virgin Mary, or a depiction of her, and look at all the fresh flowers that people have put in front of her as kind of offerings. It's a lot of flowers, and that kind of shows that this is still a very active place of worship. And the one thing I wanted to quickly say, the word I was searching for is priest. So not Pope, but priest. That's the person that probably sat in that box. But yeah, so it's really cool how all of these cathedrals and basilisks have all these kind of tiny niches where there's different types of chapels and other rooms which serve different purposes. Last thing, guys, before I exit this beautiful basilisk. So basically, this is called the Basilisk Saint Remy, and that's because he's buried here, and he is the Duke or Archduke who actually baptized Clovis, so the first French king, which was in between the year 400 and 500. I just read it in the sign, but I thought this was a bit more recent, but it's really at the start of the new millennia. But yeah, it's basically really significant because that is where he's buried, the man who baptized the first French king. I'm not sure where the French king was baptized still. I think it might have been here, but I could be mistaken. All right, everybody, so check this out. I'm here in the Museum of the Basilisk here. So I honestly don't have that much time left, only 2 hours. I need to be at the train station in 2 hours, actually. So I'm not gonna take too much time here. There's a set path for the visit. So basically, tour, it means visit visit means tour in English, So the translation of tour in French is visit. So if I mix those terms up, just know that that's what I mean. But yeah, so I'm in the museum, but it's all outside. She just told me to follow the way that the signs indicate. So I'm gonna do that. And if there's anything cool, I'll let you guys know. All right, guys, so I'm in here in the museum. You can see the type of architecture is very similar to what that was found in the basilisk. I just want to quickly highlight a very beautiful staircase that you have here, which is unfortunately not open to the public at the moment.